He's the 2004 National Credit Union Professional of the Year. Who is he? We've got him coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Fox 43 studio. We're visiting with this year's Professional of the Year from the National Association of Federal Credit Unions. That's national, not Carolinas, not regional. The Professional of the Year from the National Association of Federal Credit Unions, Jim McDaniel. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Greg. Good
Congratulations.
morning. Thank you very much.
I'm sure you've been hearing that quite a bit since July 15th.
I have.
That's
just truly an honor.
It really is. And to think about this, Jim, when we're talking about, obviously, a lot of folks may not be familiar with federal credit unions,
right.
And surely y'all are constantly, you and the crew there at Carolina Trust are constantly getting the word out. But to think about 11,000 federal credit unions throughout the country.
Right.
And we're talking about in a category, I think, 150 million in assets or less.
Or less.
Which would encompass about 6,500, 7,000 of those. Yeah. And to be recognized as the Professional of the Year for that kind of a group is truly a treat, and big for the large area that you all serve.
Right, it is. And in my opinion, the real honor came when my staff nominated me for the award. That was an honor in itself.
Not knowing about it, of course,
right.
to come out of the blue.
Right. And then when I got word of it, I was totally speechless, and I told my staff that's one of the few times in my life I had nothing to say. I couldn't say. Couldn't say anything. So.
Much earlier this morning, talking to a mutual friend of ours, he said, "You've got Jim McDaniel coming in. That guy we talking. He tells such great stories. You're not going to be able to speak." Dave Carflight loves you.
Carflight's a good friend.
He said you're an amazing storyteller. We recognized that about a year ago when you were with us here, celebrating your 7 years.
7 years with the credit union, and we also at that time and still are very active with the Victory Junction Gang Camp in North Carolina, which is now open. Children are now attending the camp.
Right. Great. How was the success of that event? You all put together, I guess, donated or gave away a boat.
We gave away a boat. It was very, very good. As a matter of fact, credit unions in North and South Carolina through the Credit Union Foundation that I also happen to serve on its board had a 3-year commitment to raise $500,000 to build 2 cabins for these children. As it turned out, in 18 months, we raised our $500,000, and we've actually committed another $500,000 for the next 18 months. So we will continue this process on.
And this is a foundation from the Carolinas.
Right. It's credit unions from North and South Carolina.
That is fantastic. That name, Carolina Trust, Federal Credit Union, can you go back to the history of that? How did they come up with such a great name?
Well, we started as the Myrtle Beach Air Force Base Federal Credit Union.
Right here where we are.
And then, of course, the base closed in 1993. The credit union at that point went forward with bringing in select employer groups, expanded its field of membership, changed its name to a name more recognizable of the area that we're going to serve. We are in the Carolinas, and credit unions solicit and just, I want to say, present trust. You know when you're a member of a credit union, you can trust where you are. So the name Carolina in Trust, and of course the Federal Credit Union, now our charter is a federally based charter. And that's how they came up with the name. In 2001, we converted our charter to a community charter. So we now can serve anybody who lives, works, worships, attends school, volunteers. Of course, Horry County, Georgetown, Williamsburg, Marion County, and Florence County, below the Lynches River.
And of course, those 5 branches there, is it Johnsonville?
Well, we have Johnsonville, Lake City, serve the Florence and Marion County and some of Williamsburg County. Then we have a branch in Conway, and we also have a new building under construction in Conway on 701 right next to the M.L. Brown building, which we hope to have open by October of this year.
Great.
We also have a branch in Surfside, and of course the main office is in Myrtle Beach on 21st Avenue.
Of course, that's right. Not for profit, not for charity, but for service.
Right.
What a great mantra. Now, is that indicative of all federal credit unions, or is that really something that you all have wrapped around?
No, that is actually the mantra, if you will, of all credit unions. That's how we were established. We're not-for-profit financial cooperatives. Okay. We are owned by our members. We do not have stockholders. We do not have outside investors. Our board of directors is elected from the membership. one member, one vote, and they're volunteers. They get paid nothing to serve. So when you go back to the inception of credit unions in this country, we started not-for-profit. We're not charitable, because I think back of a proverb, and I know you've heard it as well: give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. So we're not charitably based. It's service, and part of that service is education, and we spend a tremendous amount of money each year on educating our members and educating our community as well.
So glad you used the word co-op, and I know even a little different than that, but we think about so many spectacular co-ops in the area and the impact they make on the community with HTC and Santee Cooper and Ori Electric, the incredible impact of co-ops on a daily basis, to think about it that way.
And co-ops in general get started because for-profit entities don't have or don't want any dealings with them because there's no profit in it.
Right.
So like-minded folks pool their resources and loan back to each other, or buy for the group, and then over the years, through the level of service they're able to perform, because they're service-oriented and not profit-oriented, they become very, very successful.
Right.
And you look in our community, the co-ops that are in this community are very, very successful.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. We recognize that right now. And talking to Bernie Dove the other day, I know a good friend of yours, and hearing about the commitment of them to give back, to really help underwrite some of the big deficit with the state last year, to throw 10, 15 million back to the state to really help out in tough times.
Exactly. And as a credit union, our goal and our game plan is to give back to our membership as much as we can in the form of either higher deposit rates, lower loan rates, and other services that we don't charge for.
Jim, you mentioned board members, and I got to do a big kudos to you and to Todd Harms, and of course to Annette for following up about getting Jonesy Bolton here. And it was such a treat, of course, him having had a great military background, sitting here in a former air flight simulator, and the excitement for him about being back on the base, which he'd had such a great effect on and helping lead you all through as, I guess, chairman of y'all's board.
He was chairman of our board for 25 years.
Wow.
Served on the board for 27. And the dark days when the base closed and the National Credit Union Administration had some concerns of whether or not we could survive without a sponsor. There were some tough days, and with him at the helm, he led the credit union through those days and got it on the sound footing that it's on today.
Yeah. And that was an incredible piece, just having him in here and hearing him talk about so much of his military service. Of course, we were scheduled to talk about y'all's anniversary and the highlight therein for Carolina Trust, but we ended up just talking about primarily his military service.
He's got an outstanding career, and as long as I've known General Bolt and the stories that he's told, I've never heard the same story twice.
No.
Seriously.
That's very exciting. Jim, real quick about yourself, for viewers who may not have met you here in the community, or some of our viewers in the PD or southeastern North Carolina, are you originally from the area?
I'm originally from Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay.
I know a lot of people in Myrtle Beach don't like to hear that, but I'm originally a Charlestonian. And that's where I was before I accepted the position here 8 years ago.
You had been in a federal credit union prior to coming?
Right. And it was also an Air Force-based credit union in Charleston.
Is that right? There in Charleston. Is that still, has it carried over? Has it remained in existence, changed names?
Oh, yeah. They moved from being the Charleston Air Force-based credit union to Heritage Trust Federal Credit Union, and yes, they're very much in existence. They're in the $300 million asset category now, so they've done very well.
That's great. Do you have family with you here in the area, Jim?
Yes, I have my wife, and I have 2 children left here. My oldest son graduated from the Citadel in 2003 to keep up the family tradition, and he is actually working for South Carolina Federal Credit Union in Charleston.
Is that right?
Yeah.
How exciting.
So he followed his dad into the credit union movement. So.
What do you think prompted that original interest on your part in being with the Federal Credit Union?
Well, it's interesting. My son and I had a conversation while he was still at the Citadel, and he said, "Dad, what do I need to major in to become a credit union professional?" And I said, "Son, nobody goes to college thinking they're going to end up in a credit union. If you get 30 credit union professionals together and ask them how they ended up here, there were 30 different roads." I actually got into the credit union movement in 1988 through a computer conversion. I was actually data processing manager of an electric utility, and Heritage Trust in Charleston had a very difficult conversion experience. And the federal examiners basically prompted them to go out and start hiring some professional expertise in the data processing area. So they came and hired me as their vice president of information systems to straighten out the computer conversion. And I moved from being vice president of information systems ultimately to senior vice president of administration. And then for about a 6-month period, I was the interim president of that credit union while they were searching for their new CEO. And then, as serving in a senior management capacity there, the job opened up here, and I interviewed for it. And the board thought that my qualifications fitted what they were looking for. So that's how I ended up here.
How exciting. And that transition for you and Peggy have been good.
Very good.
From Charleston. Is your bride also from the Low Country?
She is actually from North Charleston.
Is that right?
Right, and her family pretty much all still resides there. Yeah, it's been a great experience here. We've met some really wonderful people, some really fine, close friends. So we're very happy to be here.
That transition, of course, you know, when we talk about the community and truly serving the community, of course, we think about other facilities. Oftentimes, community banks are recognized. Right. Next week, we'll be visiting with Tommy Bouchette down at Brook Green Gardens.
Right.
And, you know, these guys sell the story so well. The folks, David Morrow's been with us, and obviously Walt Standish, highlighting some of the amazing impacts of community banks, reinvesting in the community, doing what we talk about when we talk about the Herald, keep your money where your home is. But the Carolina Trust Federal Credit Union, or the federal credit unions in general, tend to really reinvest in the community as much or more than anyone.
Right. When you look at what credit unions have done from the day they were formed to today, they devote a tremendous amount of their efforts to reinvesting back into their communities, because those are the communities they serve. You know, we don't invest outside the community. We don't have building projects going on outside the community. Everything we do is within this 5-county area, with the exception of Victory Junction, which is in North Carolina. But there are over 275,000 children within a 5-hour ride of Randleman, North Carolina, that are eligible to go to that camp. So that definitely encompasses children in our own area. So whatever we do for that camp is going to benefit children in our area. But outside of that, everything we do for our community and the people that are in our community. And because they are owners of this credit union, that makes them special. They have a say-so in how we're operated. You know, community banks do an excellent job serving the community, but they concentrate in areas, commercial areas, that we don't. We are strictly consumer at this point. And they do a great job, and they serve a great purpose. Our structures are different. We are member-owned, volunteer board of directors elected by the membership, one member, one vote. They, on the other hand, of course, have stockholders who normally have sizable investments in that institution. And, you know, only the stockholders vote. The depositors don't vote, per se, unless they own stock in the institution. So structurally, we're different.
Jim, let's talk about that. Could everyone in these 5 counties be a member of Carolina Trust? I mean, is there a limit to the number of members?
We guesstimate about 350,000 people live in the 5-county area, so technically all of them could join.
Why wouldn't they? I mean, why wouldn't they? It being so consumer-focused, why wouldn't everyone? I mean, what's the biggest issue for y'all in letting folks know, A, about Carolina Trust Federal Credit Union, but B, that membership is as easy as coming on in or getting on the phone? Or
That's a question even I don't have an answer for. It even astounds us when we figure this is who we are, this is what we have to offer, that we don't have more. We've got 26,000 members, which is a healthy amount for a credit union our size. But knowing that many more people could join, probably the only hold-up we have at this point is convenience. Okay? And I say that from a standpoint, my banking friends, as you well know, can have facilities literally on every corner. All right. So credit unions are limited by federal regulation, okay, that they cannot have more than 5% of their total assets in fixed assets, i.e. buildings and et cetera. All right. So I don't have the liberty of putting a building everywhere I'd like to put a building. Now, what we do as an alternative is we're highly electronic.
Right, right.
You know, I tell people that your closest branch is as close to you as your telephone.
Right.
Because you can dial in to our automated system and do anything you need to do from home, from your office, from your car. If you have a PC at home or at the office or whatever, everything's accessible through the internet. All right? We have direct deposit through your employer, so you don't need to come make deposits. Withdrawals can be done through ATM machines, debit cards. You know, so we have a growing percentage of our credit union population that uses us because we're highly electronic. We are wherever they are. Doesn't matter where they are. You can be in Europe. As long as you got electronic access back to this country, you got access back to your account. So we have a growing population in that area. But there's still, if you look at our community, there are still a lot of folks that unfortunately keep money in mattresses. They carry all their cash on them, which is not safe. Getting them educated to say, hey, there is a better way. You know, they live with doing business with check cashers and other predatory lenders, as we like to call them, because they're paying a premium. South Carolina has no usury laws. So it is not uncommon for these folks that are using these cash for titles outfits and so forth to pay over 300% interest for a low dollar loan. You know, and you know, to me, that's just unconscionable. So for us, we don't treat people that way. We treat them all fairly. We give them the best rate possible. By federal law, the maximum rate I can charge is 18%. And we only have one product that does that. And that's a very low dollar. I mean, we'll loan somebody $100 to get a car repaired. I don't know too many other institutions in town would do that, okay, and not charge an exorbitant interest rate.
This is for members only.
Members only.
Right. But as easy as lickety-split to become a member.
To become a member. Right.
Jimmy, one of the exciting things for the members of Carolina Trust, the 26,000 you're talking about here, is that aspect of electronic banking, particularly with the person at the helm, yourself having come in from the back through that route, recognizing the benefit of database and otherwise for the credit union. Of course, having come in that route, having been in the business now on the credit union side for more than a decade, having spent that much time there to recognize that, talk about some of the electronic services that would be available, and of course, how it's changed and what are we looking for in the future?
Well, you know, things that I've seen come along, like the advent of the personal computer. Okay, I tell my staff jokingly, I have an HP 12C handheld calculator. That calculator has more memory in it than the first IBM mainframe computer I programmed on. Okay, and that computer filled this room. So you see the electronics not only getting smaller, they're cheaper, easier to use. But over the years, like I said, I've seen the growth of ATMs. I've seen the growth of debit cards. I have seen the growth of home access to your financial accounts, the internet. Wireless is growing. The only problem we have with wireless is that there are still some major security issues. And just case in point, okay, you could be sitting in a parking lot at Broadway to Beach with your laptop that has a wireless capability and access your account wireless. Okay. Somebody 2 cars down could have a sniffer device in their car and jump in on your wireless signal. And all of a sudden, now they have access to your account. So this is a security issue, and that's why we haven't readily adopted it. Through the internet, through our connections that way, we have total control over who accesses, total security over who accesses. So those are still secure transactions. The wireless still has a way to go yet, but that's probably going to be the next big movement, is things going totally wireless.
We've got about 7 minutes, Jim. We've got to focus on 7/15, the big date. Obviously, the receiving, getting your award. on July 15th, and the excitement therein must have been. Share for the viewers, if you can, a little bit about being out there. Where was it given? And
the awards were given in Vancouver, British Columbia.
Oh, really?
Absolutely beautiful, beautiful area. It's just when you've grown up in the low country of South Carolina, it's hard to fathom being able to walk out of your house and 10 minutes from the beach and then be 10 minutes from the mountains to be able to go skiing. I did a visitation to a Rotary Club there in Vancouver, and they were on the 35th floor of the Hyatt Hotel. And they overlooked the harbor over to Grouse Mountain, which is also one of their big ski resorts. And they were telling me that one of the great things about living there is that they can go to a Rotary meeting in the morning, play a round of golf, okay, after the meeting, go home, change, go up the mountain, ski for the afternoon, and be home for supper.
Oh,
you know, and that's wild in itself for me. But as far as the award goes, you know, there were probably 3,000, 4,000 of my colleagues
from all over the country.
All over the country, and even some from Canada came. And that morning when they gave the awards, they played back a video where they did some prior taping and some photographs that the credit union had sent ahead of time. And I hadn't seen it before that morning.
No.
So it was very touching, again, that my staff would do this. And then to be recognized by your peers, because the selection committee is made up of about 25 people. So to go through that process and to realize, you came out on top, and then I have all those folks there, to be given the award by the chairman of the National Association of Federal Credit Unions, and it was a great honor. It really was. It's almost hard to explain. You can see that with the Academy Awards, when somebody wins, they want to go up. They've got so much they want to say, so little time to say it in. It's just that outpouring of just being able to say thanks. I can't believe I won this type of situation.
How powerful.
It was very powerful.
It's been very special. And when we get to that mantra, of course, General Bolt sells that mantra real well. The people helping people, Todd Harms and Net, whether it's folks who've helped out in so many levels. To hear that and to continue to recognize that, to see what you all are doing on a regular basis is truly tremendous. Well,
we try. We try. And we ask our members that if any time we don't measure up, let us know. And as a member owner, their requests or their comments come directly to me, and we review them, and they go to the appropriate people to be resolved. So,
Jim, Carolina Trust has been recognized for so many community causes other than Victory Junction Gang Camp. A big one, I think, coming up September 10th out at the Wizard, a big golf tournament you all are doing to benefit Junior Achievement. I think Carolina Trust is the presenting sponsor.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. We spend a lot of our efforts with education of young people about finances. And Junior Achievement is one of the prime avenues. So when they approached us, gave us the opportunity to being the prime sponsor, we jumped on it. Because what they do and what we believe just runs parallel, and it was a good compliment. So we're really proud to be able to be the sponsor this year.
The 448-2133 phone number, extension 414 or 474. If a viewer was interested in playing, I think there's still a couple of slots available.
I believe so. Yes, there are.
To get in there, and of course to benefit Junior Achievement. A huge opportunity. Of course, something great. I think I saw the shotgun start was at 1:30.
1:30.
So a lot of folks in the PD or southeastern North Carolina can put in half a day. Is September 10th. I'm not sure the day. I think that's a Friday.
It's a Friday.
Which is even better. So
even better.
Get out of work and head on out there.
Exactly. And it's a great cause. Like I said, we spend a lot of time. Matter of fact, we've, in the last 3 years in a row, we have been recognized as a first place winner in the Youth Financial Education Award in the state of South Carolina. So this, again, is an opportunity for us to do what we believe and a chance for the community to come together. And again, let's raise some money and help these kids.
Absolutely. Well, I can assure you, Annette's bombarded me with calls in the past, even before I got to know her. And of course, I think the Herald bought a couple of tee spots, so we're really excited to be a part of that as well. Jim, just the last thing, I'm trying to think about that aspect of the biggest accomplishment for you over the last 8 years at the helm of Carolina Trust Federal Credit Union. You couldn't imagine anything better than being recognized by the National Association of Federal Credit Unions as the Professional of the Year. But on the local level, when you think about that, of course, your staff, there had to be things over the last 8 years that prompted them to nominate you.
Well, we I guess looking back, we do so much. My philosophy when I came there was the credit union is a family, the employees of this credit union, we're also a family, and we treat each other like we're a family. So, when one stumps their toe, the others are there to help pick them up. When somebody needs help, we're there to help pick them up. A couple of years back, we were awarded with the Gold Medallion as a family-friendly employer. So that says we do a lot for our employees and stress the importance of family. The job is important, but your family is your utmost responsibility. So we work with you there. On the political scene, we are probably, if not the most, one of the most politically active credit unions in the state of South Carolina. And I can take pride in the fact that we've had 2 major credit union bills in Congress. For both bills, our congressman, our 1st District congressman, first was Mark Sanford, currently Henry Brown. They were the first congressman from South Carolina to co-sign our bill.
That's great.
And that was largely due to the efforts that we put forth to educate them and stress upon them the importance of credit unions. So there's so many other things. I'm almost at a loss to go into at this point.
I understand.
But we've done a lot as a group. We're a team, and that's the main thing. We've built a team, and the team works well.
Jim, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Thank you again.
Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Jim McDaniel coming up next. Hearing Jim McDaniel use phrases like credit union movement, hearing him talk about his wife of 27 years, hearing him talk about that trip, receiving a national award, the Professional of the Year, for the National Association of Federal Credit Unions, not for profit, not for charity, but for service, people helping people. Those kind of words, hearing him talk about teams and the family at Carolina Trust Federal Credit Union really stands out. If you missed him, you should have been here.